Dear ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The first topic of today in our Crisis Media Center is 25th anniversary of restoration of the Ukrainian Kozakdom and imminent problems of Cossacks unification. Please welcome Yevhen Petrenko and a member of Maidan's 100. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As it has been already mentioned, we are here to mark the 25th anniversary of restoration of the Ukrainian Kozakdom. Exactly tomorrow there will be a 25th anniversary as of the moment when the first founding sitting of Ukrainian Cossacks took place at the hall of the Taras Shevchenko University in Kiev. At that moment, the Ukrainian Kozakdom was a real power all over Ukraine. It was well capable of gathering a great deal of people, and it was among the key playing factors behind the establishment of civic society in Ukraine. That prompted some politicians close to oligarch circles to break the Kozakdom, the unity of them, in order to nivellate the very notion of Cossacks and Kozakdom. The technology used was pretty much simple and well known because it had been already used against other powerful popular movements, be it the Green Movement or the People's Movement of Ukraine Party. That is, people were infiltrated inside the movement and they later on would break down the unified movement into a number of organizations. At first it was about 2 or 3 of them, then they would multiply and become greatly divided, to the extent when at some point in time Kuchma started issuing registration certificate to Cossack organizations, so-called Cossack organizations, because in reality they were Crimean security companies. And when they say that some of Ukrainian Cossacks did support anti-Maidan or separatists, we need to remember that it is about fake organizations established exactly to discredit the Kozakdom movement. And unfortunately, we have to acknowledge that this great divide has not been overcome yet. And after the recent Maidan, we managed to gather all the conscious Cossacks in an attempt to declare the establishment of a new organization of Ukrainian Cossack army. Still, it was dismissed, and we saw hostile takeover of this young organization by people from Medvedchuk. And the Ukrainian Cossack army currently is known to speak in Medvedchuk style. That is to say that if we remember the day when this solemn meeting was held at Taras Shevchenko University Hall to commemorate the establishment of unified Kozakdom, it will become clear for you why we have decided to reach the remaining good Cossack organizations to restore the Kozakdom, to restore again its influence as a factor of influence in the development of the Ukrainian society. We are ready to take questions. I think we would first hear to Mykola and then we'll continue with Q&A. Thank you. I want to inform you that not everyone has been able to come here to attend the meeting because many of our Cossacks are still on the front line. And there is a number of people of quite an advanced age that there are also people who are rather volunteers, not military servicemen, but nevertheless they contribute and support our efforts in this conflict. And there are people who are on occupied territories and they consciously exercise their mission there. There's a number of organizations that left the unified Cossackdom and they at the moment are waging war together with Russian Federation from the territory of DNR and LNR against Ukraine. In reality, the issue of lustration among Cossacks has been raised numerous times, given a variety of pro-Russian organizations also in Ukraine that are trying to disguise themselves under Cossack slogans, but nevertheless work against the country. And we have established a working group and addressed the security service and the GPO of Ukraine, requesting an investigation in activities of this organization. Thank you. Any questions or clarifications? If no, then one from the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center. What is the main aim of activities of Cossack organizations? Surely you do a lot by providing proper training to young people, but what is the main need to unify this, to unite these organizations? Can they not exist separately? You know, the developments of the past years have shown it and proved it that Ukraine does need Cossacks, and the lack of unified Cossack movement led to these tragic events that we are facing today. But on the other hand, Maidan and post-Maidan developments have led the way to Cossackdom for many young people, and we see many of them actively involved in the restoration of Ukraine and in the fight against oppressors. Besides training and military training to young people, Cossack organizations can also contribute to education and upbringing of young people. We have so-called circles that we have organized on Trukhanivska in Kiev, in Kharkiv, in Odessa, in an attempt to provide fully fledged education and upbringing and personal development for young people, because a Cossack, a good Cossack, has to be a multifaceted person, developed not just physically but also intellectually. And you need to understand that this must be a man of purpose, a man able to implement hopes. And whenever someone says to you that he or she is a Cossack, you are entirely right to put a question to such person. What is it that you exactly do in favor of Ukraine? If no clear answer, then this is not a true Cossack. A Cossack needs to be immediately involved in every facet of the life of the country. It can be about a whole range of activities, again, from training and upbringing to overseeing public order. I can put a rhetoric question to you. Would Berkut officers be so active in beating people and children should they know that there are Ukrainian Cossacks able to gather there and fight back? Rhetorically said, surely they would not do it. Or would Girkin attempt to take Slovyansk, knowing that there are Cossacks there that without waiting for orders from Kiev will come to defend the city? Surely not. That is, we consider it as a factor of stability inside the society, a measure of protecting the government and the people from extremism, from power abuse. And because of that, I think that the Cossackdom needs to exist. And Ukraine needs this, because these people will be beyond politics, but they will be standing before the people.
answering your question why we need to unite, I'll try to explain the situation which is available today regarding, well, if we have a look at the Cossack movement as a whole, at least those people who named themselves Cossacks. We have Cossacks and the Lunatics and whoever else. I think you had a chance to meet with the representatives of those three categories who are unfortunately call them the Ukrainian Kozaks. When the time when they battered the students, there was a small unit, I mean, of Cossacks who tried to guard or to defend and prevent the battering, but they kind of confused everything. In fact, only a few of our guys managed to, yeah, and believe me, they did not want this to do, but they actually unmasked them and photographed their faces, and 4 hours later we knew the names of those units and those scoundrels actually, and I mean people were photographed, and they are brutal, like, you know, like the brutes, you know, first of all, I cannot name them. And those who were the first at the Maidan and the last to leave the Maidan were actually the Maidan, if you're talking about those events. And Andriy just touched slightly upon that. But today we have international organizations. When you try to monitor those, it turns out that this international organization actually is the place of the general with lots of different decorations and awards, you know, and he can you can hardly move. And then this organization includes also his son-in-law and his woman as the, you know, whatever. But they introduce themselves, oppose themselves as Ukrainian Kozaks. Actually, they make some damage to the image of Ukrainian Kozaks. So realistically, we have to give a sober-minded assessment. And 2 years have elapsed in those days, and well, actually, almost 2 years have elapsed. And I don't want to evaluate the results, but there are results actually. And now I'm involved in traveling in the eastern parts of Ukraine. We are very often in the front line. We try to extend their helping hand. And in fact, the youth and many of our actually young people have the haircuts resembling the Cossacks. And when we ask them that, is it fashionable to have such a haircut, and they are kind of offended, and they try to explain to us why they try to doing that, and they try to do something, and we do have that those actions of theirs will help us to restore what we have 20 years ago, because the results of 25 years which passed, in fact, this the life of this restored Cossacks movement is, you know, is kind of finds itself in ruins. We try to do something about that. A number of the organizations have been set up where the children, for the first time ever, can hear the true-to-life history. And there are only a few who recognize that for the last 300 or 500 years, we were. They tried actually to raise us from this planet, and not only the neighbor, the northern neighbor of ours, but you know, the Cossacks, they cannot imagine themselves without Ukraine. And maybe you know that it's a kind of volunteer battalion, and many of those guys have not only the specific traditional haircut, but they also recognize the customs and traditions. And this is good because the children have the first time in their life have the opportunity to understand what is true democracy, true democrats. And Andriy said that the Cossacks can find themselves beyond the politics. Indeed, the Cossacks never served to anybody. They did not obey anybody, I mean anybody's will. But any kind of statehood means violence. You have to agree with that, you know. And Cossacks never support any kind of power or authority, but which had the roots in themselves, Because Cossacks were all equal, and to pass a decision, there was a complete get-together, and all of them would pass a decision unanimously. And now they have those rules, regulations, democracy. The Cossacks themselves, they select or elect their leader, and only in some very few cases we can oppose a veto on their decision if this decision can be detrimental to their health or something like that, But they learn how to live. They learn how to select one guy or girl, respectively, and when they come to understand that he or she is not capable of anything, and they understand that this is detrimental to them, and they try to select or elect somebody else. This is an experience which is lacking in our society. It doesn't matter to us who we elect. We have to face one problem. This society is not prepared for the events, was not prepared for the events or the, let's say, achievements which we could have reached after following the Maidan. There are some clarifications. Number one, which is the most powerful organization of Cossacks in which region of Ukraine, and the least powerful as well. And how many Cossacks there are in Ukraine, those who actually follow or recognize the skills and traditions, have the traditional haircuts, etc., etc. So you see, we cannot give you such an assessment today, not to offend anybody, We are going to have lustration, and based on the results of this process, we can give you some information. I can say the following, that unfortunately, anti-Ukrainian organizations which disguise themselves as Ukrainian Kozaks, there are a lot of Ukraine. Some time ago, there was they were very active and efficient, working in the Crimea, in Lugansk and Donetsk region. How many people are there who actually recognize these skills or traditions? It's not a must to have a special haircut or some loose pants or something like that. In fact, we are talking about some more deep-going requirements. This is a kind of manner, way of combating for their rights. How do you understand lustration in Cossacks organization? Who is going to take care of that? Law enforcement bodies, Cossacks, or who, somebody else? Actually, we've been dealing with that for second year now. And we have some of the applications which were submitted to the law enforcement bodies, and it's clear that without any status, and Andriy forgot to tell you the following thing. Always, starting from the times of renovation or restoration, we have the legal fact of restoration. Tomorrow we're going to celebrate 25th anniversary in that day, but this was preceded by some work of the dissidents or let's say, or somebody else, but we do not have any status, so we do not have the right to punish. But we tried within the framework of the effective legislation to use certain kind of possibilities and opportunities. And actually, in some areas, it's easier to resolve this issue now. Any other questions or clarifications? If none, thank you indeed. Our dear guests, esteemed Cossacks, and next briefing of ours will be at 11:30. We're going to talk about corruption is who.